That I read in February. It was a pretty good reading month for me. On BookTok, we did have a girl come in and say that sharing the amount of books that you've read is kind of harmful because it creates this level of competition amongst readers. And I just want to say, I read 10 books this month. I DNF'd 4, and one of them was a reread. So let's get into the 10 books that I read this month. I did get to 2 arcs this month. I read How I Got Abducted by Aliens, and Now I'm Stuck in a Rom-Com by Kimberly Lemming, which was absolutely hilarious. I 10 out of 10 recommend this book if you want something funny, lighthearted. Our main character, her name is Dorothy, and she is abducted by aliens and taken to this alien planet with dinosaurs. They have brought back dinosaurs. It's like this massive experiment and also now a home for a lot of aliens that lost their home. Dory winds up on this planet, meets a talking lion named Toto, and then also meets 2 really hot, sexy aliens that end up being her mates. So it is MMF. And it is funny, it is hilarious, and I hope we get a second book in this world because there's another character that we're introduced to that I think would be a wonderful heroine. She's hilarious. So my hope is for a second book. I really enjoyed this one, and I do very much recommend if you just want a silly, goofy time. I did also read Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. I will say this about that book. Before I Let Go is a love letter to married women. This Could Be Us is a love letter to divorced women, and Can't Get Enough is a love letter to single women. This 3rd book does complete the Interconnected Standalone series, and it follows Hendrix and Maverick. I am not a huge fan of billionaire romances, but if I am going to read one, it's going to be by Kennedy Ryan. I absolutely adored it. Hendrix is a child-free, bisexual, independent woman. Exactly what Maverick wants. She's also extremely curvy, she's black, she's everything he wants and desires, and he's just broken up with his model girlfriend, and he is immediately drawn to Hendrix. Immediately. I loved Hendrix as a character. I loved getting to see these 2 characters again and see how they're doing in their relationships. And I just loved who Hendrix is and everything that she represents. I think Kennedy Ryan always does a really good job of introducing really tough discussions and topics of discussion within her novels. One of the topics in Can't Get Enough is taking care of, Hendrix has to take care of her mother who was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's. As someone who is currently a caregiver to my grandma who has Alzheimer's, every element she touched upon was correct. Actually, it was almost painful to the point where I would say Kennedy, what was the accuracy that necessary? Like, that level of accuracy was that necessary in a really really kind of way. It hit really hard. I think if you have ever been someone who provided care to someone with Alzheimer's, it's really gonna resonate. So could not recommend it more. It doesn't come out till April, but you can pre-order it now. So, and you should. I will be getting an edition of that novel for sure. Okay, so on to the physical books. I read Rebel by Beverly Jenkins. Loved this. I love Beverly Jenkins. I'm also kind of slowly getting back into my historical romance bag. It's Beverly Jenkins. They're always really cute romances. This one is between Drake, who is a pirate, and Valinda, or also known as Val, who is a school teacher. And it's so good. This is post-slavery during the rebuilding of the United States, and it does tackle topics of slavery and of Black people getting a foothold in the US now that they're free, but also was there that actual freedom? And you kind of get that in this novel. I swear I learned more about Black history in historical romance novels than I did from school. I absolutely loved this. I thought it was super cute. I am excited to read Indigo though, because I've heard that's her best, and I'm just excited to keep reading more from Beverly Jenkins. Super cute. I don't recommend the audiobook, however. I don't like the audio narrator. She doesn't... Don't read this one on audio, read a physical or an ebook of this one. I also read Parable of the Sower. I did a tandem read of this, so I read the audiobook and I read the physical book, which I do really recommend. I think this is a sci-fi dystopian. Octavia Butler wrote this in 1993, or I should say it was published in 1993, and it is set in the year 2024. It does progress through the years. I think this one goes up to 2028, and we're following Lauren, who is, when we first meet her, she is in her family, with her family, behind a wall. The world has gone to absolute chaos, and you can't go outside the wall because it's very, very dangerous. There's this drug that's causing people to really like fire and to start setting fires everywhere. It's just fully lawless and no one abides by any sort of law. And then something happens and she has to travel north. This was exceptional. It's exceptional. It's an exceptional read. There's a reason it's a classic. I will be reading the next book, Parable of the Talents. I just need to get it in physical copy, and I'm waiting on the audiobook as well because I do want to do a tandem read again. I was invited to New York to the release of Scythe and Sparrow with the author. I actually know the author. I went to an event for the release of Butcher and Blackbird as well. I loved this one. I didn't love Leather and Lark as much, so I was excited for Scythe and Sparrow because I really like the main characters in this, Fionn and Rose. You can watch a vlog of the whole trip to New York. I loved this one. I love this one. This was hilarious. If you like dark rom-coms, I think you will love this one. I think it's the second funniest, second to Butcher and Blackbird. I thought Butcher and Blackbird was the funniest, but this has like circus elements. It's like heat force proximity because he's taking care of her after she breaks her leg. And the funniest part is that Rose is not good at being a serial killer. She wants to be. She really tries and she plans things out, but she's just really bad at it, and Fionn has to help her a lot. Freaking hilarious. 10 out of 10 recommend. Everyone was talking about Deep End. Everyone was talking about it. It was a beautiful edition, sprayed edges, beautiful like end pages, right? A beautiful, stunning edition. I had to know what was going on. I had a massive amount of FOMO. This is not my favorite Ali Hazelwood. I think that still goes to Love Theoretically. This was so good though. Her writing is so addicting. It's so addicting. Like, I was reading it and I didn't want to stop. I did do a tandem read of this because her audiobooks are duet narration. So Lucas is voiced by a different voice actor. So Lucas is narrated, and all of the things that he says, all of his quotes are narrated by that voice actor, and then all of the words narrated by Scarlett are from another, like the woman voice actor. It's so good. This explores kink and BDSM, but in a really approachable way. I think especially for these characters, they're 21 years old, they're in college, they're swimmers, she's a diver. I just thought this tackled that aspect of their relationship really well, and this was so cute. It's an addicting read, I will say that. I had a hard time putting it down most of the time, even when I had to sleep. I loved it. I loved it. It's spicy, but it's not too spicy. So good. One of the holdovers from January was Immortal by Scythe Tan. This is the Fairy Loot edition. This is such a good romantasy. Like, I don't know why people aren't talking about this more. This was such a cute romantasy. It's not overly spicy either, and it's a standalone. This is a standalone. We're following the god of war, and this human, her name is Lynn. She ascends the throne, but it's of the human race, and then she goes to the Fae and she's like, hey, you've had us in kind of captivity. We've been like serving you for long enough. We've paid our dues. Free us. And they're like, no. So then she meets with the god of war, and they just have this instant connection. There are a lot of reveals. There's a lot of twists and turns in this that I didn't see coming, and I absolutely loved that. I cannot recommend this more. It was really it was just a really good, well done romantasy, which I feel like is really hard right now because, for example, I also read White Horse Black Knights, and this is gonna be like a little mini negative review for this book because I hated it. I loved it for the first 300 pages, I will say. So I'm an equestrian and I grew up riding horses. I rode horses for like 10 years. I was really good. I had a horse, he was gifted to me, like it was a whole thing. So when the heroine of this book can talk to animals, but she's also sold essentially to her future husband, and he wants her to ride naked and bareback 19 days to his home. He sends a bodyguard named Wolf, and she has to do this as like an ode to the gods, essentially, which is messed up and like physiologically not possible. That she would be in so much pain from that, and also like it wouldn't be sanitary for her. It would not be healthy. Like it would cause a lot of issues. Okay, fine, but it's a fantasy novel, so whatever. But the decisions these characters make, the miscommunication, the leaps in logic, like Wolf is the MMC, he's who she falls in love with. We get his perspective, and he's dumb. He's just a dumb character. He doesn't make logical decisions. The decisions that he does make are literally stupid. And the fact that there's this miscommunication when they're both grown-ass people and grown-ass adults is beyond dumb to me. And then just the way that he continues to perform and try to keep Sabine, quote-unquote, safe from this man, Rion, who he considers his brother. Like, it's beyond stupid. So I was really mad at that. And then I did read 50 pages into the next book, and the characters continue, like, I swear their IQ continues to decrease. Like, they just get dumber, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So I did end up DNFing that book as well. I hated it. I reread Legendborn after that because I was like, I needed a 6-star read. I think this book got better. If you haven't read Legendborn, we're following Bree Matthews, and she sees something she shouldn't see while she's at university. And it's magical, and it seems fantastical and like unbelievable. And she's also grieving the death of her mother, and she doesn't believe her mother's death was an accident. So she meets this Arthurian-based secret society that has magic, and she starts to learn more about it, and she thinks it's somehow involved in her mother's death. This is so good. The second, or the third book, I should say, comes out March 4th, which is this upcoming Tuesday, and I will be driving to Barnes & Noble to purchase that day. I'm currently rereading Bloodmarked, which is the second book in the series, and I'm loving it. Like, Tracy Deonn really has a magic to her writing. But I will say, Legendborn and Bloodmarked both, the writing style is very much, you have to understand every element within it. I would not recommend reading it on audio the first time. I would recommend a tandem read, which is what I'm doing right now. Audio narrator's phenomenal, and these books are they're dense. They're dense. There's a lot that's happening in them and a lot you need to keep track of. So if you zone out even for a second and you miss something, it could be an issue later on in the novel. So tandem read or read the physical or the ebook. That's definitely what I recommend for these. And then, as I mentioned in my previous reading wrap-ups, I am trying to read one nonfiction novel a month. I read Hood Feminism this month by Mikki Kendall. This woman absolutely read me to filth. To filth. I think this is a book that all women who consider themselves feminists should read, but in particular, white women who consider themselves feminists, because it really, in a very brusque and not sensitive way, shows how white feminism has been so harmful to minorities, especially minority women. And, you know, it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant to have your eyes opened like that, but I think it is necessary. So if you consider yourself a feminist, I would recommend picking this up. It's not long. Mikki Kendall narrates the audiobook, and I very much recommend the audiobook. As for my DNFs, already mentioned I DNF'd Silver Wings Golden Games, so I won't harp on that one too much. I DNF'd The Air Heap Breeze. I think this is an incredibly messed up novel. They're both grieving their spouses, but the main character, I think his name is Tristan, he's just an asshole. I don't think he could be redeemed in my eyes because he's just mean. Like, I get it, you're grieving, but he's just mean to everyone, and I didn't really like that, so no. And the final one I DNF'd was According to Bristol Keats, which I was really surprised about because Mary E. Pearson, I loved the Dance of Thieves duology, and her writing is usually exceptional. But in this one, I was so bored and also confused, and it felt like every romantasy, like, it felt very generic. I'll say that. It felt very generic, and I zoned out during the audiobook like crazy. Like, I didn't even pay attention. So I ended up DNFing it because even if I'd gotten to the end, I wouldn't have known what was happening. It was generic and boring, and I hate that because I had a beautiful edition of it. I've loved her books in the past, and this one was really disappointing. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you read this month and if there's anything you recommend, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!